Imagine the scene, a quiet summer at the family's country house, when suddenly peace is broken by an unexpected visit. At the gate, the mother-in-law presents itself with an air of those who have already taken possession of the place, declaring bluntly, "Now this house is mine, my son gave me as a gift." No one was waiting for this turnaround, but the father of the family, surprisingly, kept calm with a serenity that made everyone intrigued. Allow me to share with you a story that goes far beyond a simple family conflict. It is a plot of emotions, choices, and consequences that makes us reflect on the limits between love and justice. Svetlana Alexievna watched the terrain with bright eyes, imagining herself like the new owner of that paradise. A two-story, well-groomed house with organized flower beds, fruit trees, and even a small ornamental lake with colored fish. All that was the dream she always fed, but she could never realize herself. Widow for 5 years, living in a modest apartment on the periphery, his only comfort was his son, Victor. When he married Marina, a wealthy family girl and impeccable formation, Svetlana at the beginning received her with open arms. But over time, he realized that daughter-in-law was not as simple as it seemed. For her, Marina looked down, as if her humble origin were a burden. The years only worsened the relationship. Svetlana was convinced that her daughter-in-law was driving her son away. Victor really started to call less, to visit less frequently. When the grandson was born, Artem, she believed things would improve, but it was just the opposite. Marina controlled each visit, alleging lack of time or her creation methods. Until, in a day of outburst, Svetlana didn't contain. "Son, you forgot me completely? I'm alone, no one wants me around. Not my own grandson can see." Victor, tired, tried to calm her down. "Mother, stop it. We have our obligations, the Artem, the work." "Always Marina, just Marina. Before you weren't like that." She wimped. "No one has influenced you, son. It is you who are leaving me." "It's not that, mother. Now I have my own family, understand." The argument was repeated for months. Svetlana then played her last letter. "All my friends have their homes, and me? Not a corner to rest in old age. At least on weekends." Victor sighed. He knew that speech well. The mother dreamed of the country house of Marina's parents, a large and luxurious space in an elite condominium, 1 hour from the city. There, the in-laws received the son-in-law and the grandson with love, but Svetlana was always an unwanted visit. The tension between her and Marina's mother-in-law was evident from the first date. "Mom, you know this house is not mine. I can't just give you something that doesn't belong to me," Victor tried to explain. "Of course, because her parents have, and I have nothing. Where is justice?" Svetlana countered between tears. Those words echoed in Victor's mind. Days later, he called his mother with a strangely lively voice. "Mom, are you sitting? I have a surprise for you. Let's meet tomorrow, I'll be there." Svetlana could barely contain the emotion. Had the son convinced the in-laws? Or, who knows, arranging money to buy a land just for her? He spent the night in Kors, imagining the afternoon teas with his friends in his own balcony. The next day, Victor sought her earlier than usual, with a nervousness that was not unnoticed. "Where are we going?" she asked when they took the family road. "You'll see. It's a surprise," he replied, dodging. When he folded at the entrance of the condominium where the house of Sogros was, Svetlana frowned. "Are we going to Marina's house?" he asked suspiciously. "Not exactly," Victor murmured. "Trust in me." Arriving at the scene, there was no one in sight. They traveled to the coast by the week, Victor explained, as if that justified something. Then, cautiously, "Solto, this house could be yours. I mean, you could come here when you wanted to. I'll get a copy of the keys." Svetlana didn't believe what she heard. "Victor, are you serious? This is theft. How can I use someone else's house without permission?" He stammered. "Well, it's not well without permission. Let's say I authorized." She stared at him, divided between the shock and a growing temptation. After all, was the son part of the family? Wasn't he right about that space? It was not going to damage anything, just enjoy a little tranquility. "Son, are you serious?" he repeated, this time with a different tone. Victor, without the courage to look at her in the eye, confirmed, I know it's not ideal, but you're my mother. I want you to be happy. It was enough. Something inside Svetlana clicked. Suddenly she felt in control. Give me the keys, he said, extending his hand with determination. Victor handed them, watching her enter the house with a mixture of relief and regret. In the following days, Svetlana lived a fantasy. He received his friends for a tea, bragging of his son's gift. In her version, the house was a legitimate gesture of affection, not a dubious loan. Victor called every day nervously, remembering that the owners would return in 4 days. But Svetlana had already seized the place. Rerouted the furniture, changed the curtains, even planned the garden of next season. On the 4th day, he invited his confidants, Galina Nikolaevna and Zinaida Stepanovna, for a pompous tea. The friends marveled at the impeccable space, the lake, the comfort. Was all this present from your Victor? Galina was amazed. He must earn very well, replied Svetlana proudly. And Marina's father hasn't helped. After all, they have family business, Zinaida bedled. Svetlana cut the subject firmly. This is my house now. My son gave me. If they want another one, they buy. It was right now that the destination decided to intervene. At that moment, the iron gate grinded as it opened hard, and 3 figures entered the property with decided steps: Igor Vladimirovich, Elena Dmitrievna, and among them Marina, whose face was a poorly contained mask. Svetlana Alexeyevna immediately recognized them, the in-laws and her daughter-in-law that until that moment she believed she had under control. The silence that was installed was sharp as a blade. What is happening here? Igor Vladimirovich's voice, though calm, carried a tone that would froze the air. His eyes traveled the table posted with care, the still smoked porcelain cups, the 3 women who now petrified themselves in their seats. Svetlana Alexeyevna, he continued, every syllable weighing as an accusation, what are you doing in our house? She did not retreat. Not with those witnesses. Not after proclaiming, a few minutes ago, his victory before his friends. He rose with the dignity of a deposed queen, but still a queen. This is my dacha now, he said, the chin erected. My son gave me as a gift. Every stone, every tree here belongs to me. Marina paled, as if he had been slapped. His fingers were confused around his bag, and for a second, Svetlana almost smiled when she saw her daughter-in-law so dismantled. But then, the flush of the fury climbed the young woman's neck, painting her faces red. What do you mean, gave? Marina's voice shook with anger. Victor has no right to give what is not his. Igor Vladimirovich, unlike his daughter, kept a terrifying calm. Without a hurry, he took his cell phone out of his pocket, dialed a number and took the device to his ear. Svetlana did not hear what he said, but saw his lips move with surgical precision. Victor, explain me why your mother and friends are taking tea in my dacha, stating that you gave it as a gift. The silence that followed was unbearable. Tichi. Seconds they dragged themselves like hours. Then Igor's face closed, the jaw's muscles were tensioned. He hung up the phone without saying goodbye. Understood, he murmured more to himself than to those present. Then he turned to Svetlana with a smile that didn't reach the eyes. I don't know what story you invented, but this property is registered in my name. He opened the folder he carried and displayed a document with seals and signatures. I have the deed here, the registration in the notary, all in order. I demand that you and your guests leave the place immediately. Svetlana felt the floor shake under her feet. But if he bent now, before Galina, from Zinaida, before those judging eyes? No. That would be worse than death. Vitya gave me the keys, he insisted, the sharper voice than he intended. He said I could use dacha when he wanted to. Keying is not the same as donating a property, Svetlana Alexeyevna, Igor replied, cold as the Siberian winter. And even if it was, my son has no authority to dispose of what does not belong to him. He paused, as if measuring the words. Last time, get out. Or I'll call the police. She laughs, a dry, almost hysterical sound. Call it. He challenged, crossing his arms. Let's see who they will believe, in me, the mother of the family, or in you, who are trying to humiliate me in front of my friend. It was a mistake. A colossal error. Igor Vladimirovich did not hesitate. He died 3 numbers with a calm that terrified her. While explaining the situation on the phone, a clear, articulated, irrefutable voice, Svetlana remained motionless, nails stuck in the palms. His friends exchanged nervous glances, like rats trapped in a trap. Why the hell I invited them, thought, but it was late. 20 minutes later, the gate crank again. This time, they were 2 young police officers, from impeccable uniforms, who entered firm steps. They asked for documents. Igor presented the scripture and his passport without blinking. Svetlana had only the ID, which trembled in her hands. "Citizen," said the eldest of both, bluntly, "you are on private property without authorization. The owner requires the lady and her companions to withdraw now. But my son," she started desperately. "Your son is not the owner," the policeman cut impassive. "And even if it was, you have no document proving your claim." He sighed, as if he had seen that scene hundreds of times. "I recommend that you collect your things and go well. Otherwise, we will have to record an occurrence by invasion of property." It was then that another car stopped at the entrance. Viktor descended, followed by Svetlana's parents, Alexei Dmitrievich, with his uncompromising military posture, and Tamara Igorevna, whose eyes reflected a mixture of concern and disappointment. "My parents," thought Svetlana, and something inside her broke. Not out of shame, not for repentance, but for the certainty that now, even they would witness their fall. "Dad, Mom, what are you doing here?" Her voice came out weak, almost childish. "Viktor called," Alexei replied, the tone as dry as the desert. "Said you got into trouble." His eyes traveled the scene, the abandoned tea table, the police, Igor's closed face. Apparently, it was even worse than he imagined. He turned to Igor Vladimirovich, extending his hand on a gesture that was both farewell and excuse. "I ask for forgiveness for my daughter's behavior," he said, a serious voice as a verdict. "I understand that this is your property." Igor confirmed with a nod. "And what exactly is my daughter doing here?" Alexei asked, although he knew the answer. "It says dacha is now on," Igor replied without a shred of irony. "May your son-in-law gave as a gift." The silence that followed was so dense that you could cut with a knife. "Alexei DM." Itrievich turned to Svetlana, and she retreated instinctively, as if waiting for a slap. "SSN," his voice was a low growl. "Did you lose the judgment? How do you dare to lie about such a thing?" "I didn't lie," she exploded, tears finally breaking the barrier. "Vitya gave me the keys. I said I could use dacha when I wanted to." Viktor, who had hitherto remained silent, stepped ahead. His face was pale, his eyes red, as if he had not slept on days. "Mom," his voice broke. "I said you could come sometimes when no one was here with my permission. I never talked about donation. Never." He shook his head, as if he couldn't believe what he saw. "This is the property of the in-laws. I can't give what is not mine, asterisk." The words fell as hammered. Svetlana looked at her friends, seeking support, but Galina and Zinaida avoided her gaze, as if she were a leper. Betroths, he thought, but he had no more strength to fight. "Take your things," he ordered Alexei, the tone admitting no replica. "We go away. And you will apologize to the owners of the house." "I won't apologize," she spat, pride still burning in her veins. "They should apologize for spoiling my day. Your father just laughed, a sound without joy." "You have 5 minutes," he said. "Then we'll get out of force if necessary." And did not lie. 5 minutes later, Svetlana Alexeyevna was sitting on the backseat of a taxi, among her parents and friends, who now seemed to want to disappear. Alexei formally apologized to Igor Vladimirovich, promising that this would not be repeated. Viktor and Marina were behind, alone with her parents, and Svetlana knew, with a painful certainty, that her son's marriage would never be the same. On the way back, she didn't say a word. The tears ran silent, burning like acid. Only when they arrived at their parents' apartment, their exile thought, did the dike break. He threw himself on the couch, the body shaken by violent sobs. "Everyone is against me," he shouted, his fists clenched. "No one understands me. No, Alexei replied, tired. You don't understand. He sat next to him, the lowest, but no less firm voice. You acted like a spoiled child. Worse, he put his own son in an unsustainable position. What do you think will happen to his wedding now? I don't care about his marriage, she ordered, the words coming out like poison. Marina has already turned him against me, Tamara Igorevna sighed, running her hand through her grey hair. And don't you think it's the one who drives you away with these staging? He asked, his voice shaking. You need to apologize. With everyone. Or we'll lose it forever. But Svetlana didn't want to hear. In his head, injustice burned like fire, feeding deaf anger. Never swore to herself. I will never talk to Victor again. I will never tread at those people's house again. May their lives live. She would survive without them. Victor tried. He called several times the following week, left messages, appeared at his door. She ignored everything. When parents came to visit her now more often, as if they feared to leave her alone with her own demons, she vented, he chose that Aravite instead of her own mother. That she doesn't cry when I'm dying. I warned, only shaking my head, as if I saw in his daughter the portrait of an announced tragedy. 2 months passed. Svetlana still refused to answer her son's calls. His news came through his parents, who kept in touch with his grandson. Until, one night, the bell rang. At the door was Alexei Dmitrievich, the face impassive. Stick, he said, without preambles. Let's go to Dacha. What Dacha? She frowned, confused. Ours, he answered, and something in his tone shut her. We bought land, he explained. How much she, stunned, was looking for the shoes. Nothing luxury. A simple little house, a piece of land. Your mother and I thought it would be good. The way to the place was silent. When they arrived, Svetlana looked around, incredulously. The house was small, of aged wood, with a modest garden and a peeled board fence. There was no pool, no design furniture, no artificial lakes. Only the smell of damp earth, the murmur of a nearby stream and the wind in the trees. And for the first time in months, she felt something strange, peace. He likes? Asked Alexei, watching her with a sparkle in her eyes she hadn't seen for years. She didn't answer. Not with words. But when a tear ran down her face, and she didn't dry her father knew it was yes. Alexei observed his reaction, his eyes fixed on hers as if he tried to decipher every shadow of emotion that went through that face marked by the time and the wrong choices. It swallowed hard, the trembling fingers squeezing the rough wood of the fence. Yes, he admitted, his voice hoarse, almost a whisper. This is quiet. The father nodded slowly, as if weighing each word before letting them escape. So it's determined. Your mother and I have already signed the papers. Dacha is now yours. Svetlana felt the floor open under her feet. The air fled the lungs. Dad, no. I don't deserve it, the words came out sharply like broken glass. Not after what I did. Don't deserve it, Alexei agreed, bluntly. But deserving is not the point. She looked up, confused. The father continued, the voice firm, but without hardness. The question is if you will deserve it. Starting by apologizing to your child. And his family. Victor is destroyed, Svetlana. He almost lost his job because of him. Marina cries at night, asking what she did to deserve a mother-in-law that treats her as an enemy. And the Artem, here, the old man's voice has just for a moment, asks for you. Every day. The silence that followed was like a knife stuck in the chest. Svetlana closed her eyes, and the tears, this time, were not of self-pity. They were acidic, they burned. I didn't know, he murmured. Now you know, said his father. And what are you going to do with it? Asterisk. The next morning, her hands trembled as she dialed the number. Victor answered in the second touch, the tense, suspicious voice. Mother. She could not respond immediately. Swallowed the knot in the throat. I need to see you. Please. They found themselves in an anonymous coffee, the kind that no one frequents by choice, just out of necessity. Victor arrived first. When Svetlana saw him, she felt as if she had punched him, the swollen eyes of sleepless nights, the deep dark circles, her shoulders curved as if she carries an invisible weight. I saw, she started, but the word choked. Tried again. Son, forgive me. He stared at her, incredulously. He said nothing. I didn't need to. His silence was a mirror. It reflected all the damage she had caused. I went, monstrous, he continued, the words coming out in gusty gusts. Selfish. Blind. I have no excuse. I'm just ashamed. And the promise that I will fix it. With you, with Marina, with her parents. With everyone I hurt. Victor crossed his arms, as if he needed to protect himself. Do you know what almost happened, Mom? Igor Vladimirovich, my boss, called me in the office. He said either I controlled my family or he would fire me. I narrowly lost everything. Because of you. She lowered her head. The hands now no longer shake. They were immovable, like stone. I'm going to talk to him. Today. It's no use, Victor spat, bitter. The damage is already done. My reputation, my in-laws. They think I'm weak. That I can't even manage my own mother. Svetlana looked up, and there was something new in them, a flame that wasn't there yesterday. So let them hear from me. Let me take the blame. And that I ask for forgiveness. Not for you, Victor. Like you. He observed it for a long moment. Then slowly nodded. They won't want to see you. I'll make you want. Asterisk. Marina's parents received her with polished coldness, as if she were an insistent saleswoman at the door. But Svetlana didn't look away. It did not plead. Just spoke. I envied you, he admitted, a firm voice despite tears. He envied this dacha, this life that seemed perfect. And instead of building mine, I tried to steal yours. It was pathetic. It was petty. And it was wrong. The silence that followed was suffocating. Until Marina's mother finally sighed. Why now, Svetlana? Why this change? She smiled sadly. Because I almost lost everything. And I realized that everything I really had was worth more than 1,000 marble dachas. It was not easy. It was not fast. But something changed that day. Something small, like a crack on the ice. And for the first time in years, Svetlana felt that perhaps there was still a way back.